A small black boy in a clip-on tie reaches for a bread roll at a country club wedding.
Excuse me, may I have one?
The bride's mother snatches his arm and drags him from the buffet.
Street kids don't eat here. This food isn't for your kind. Look at him. No parents, no invitation, no class. Someone call security. Get this child out before he touches anything else.
Guests in pearls and silk laugh behind their champagne flutes. A woman live streams it. Then the groom appears, sweat beading on his forehead. His face is white.
Stop! That's the CEO's son.
Oh.
But that is only the beginning. Because what happens next, to the bride's mother, to her family, to this 140-year-old club, not one person on this terrace sees coming. If you believe receipts matter more than apologies, subscribe and stay. We have 13 of them. But first, you need to meet the boy's father, and you need to understand what he carried into this club long before his son did. Yo, I'm Kane Uncovers. I tell stories people try to bury. This one, a black boy dragged from a wedding buffet in Savannah, Georgia. Bro, you gotta hear this. Brian Thornton is 44 years old. He runs Thornton Enterprises, a logistics technology company he built from nothing into a firm valued at $1.2 billion. He employs 4,600 people across 3 states. He sits on 2 nonprofit boards. He speaks last in every meeting and never raises his voice. None of that is the interesting part. The interesting part is Macon County, Alabama. A single-wide trailer with a porch that sagged in the middle. A mother named Ruth who worked double shifts at a poultry processing plant and came home smelling of cold metal and bleach. A father who left before Brian started kindergarten and never sent a forwarding address. Brian ate government cheese sandwiches for lunch. He carried a free lunch card to school every day and hid it under his palm when he handed it to the cashier, pressing it flat against the counter so no one at the next table could read what it said. One afternoon in 4th grade, the cafeteria was too crowded. Brian took his tray to the hallway and ate alone on the floor, his back against a locker, because he did not want anyone to see the stamp on his ticket. A teacher walked past. She did not stop. That was 35 years ago. Brian does not talk about it, but his hands still remember the shape of that shame, the way a lunch tray feels when you are trying to make yourself invisible. Today, Brian lives in a restored Victorian in Savannah's Ardsley Park neighborhood. His one indulgence is cooking Sunday breakfast for his son. Scrambled eggs, turkey bacon, and biscuits from scratch. Caleb always asks for extra barbecue sauce. Brian always says no. Caleb always gets it anyway. Caleb Thornton is 9 years old. He loves the solar system, particularly Saturn because of the rings, and he puts barbecue sauce on everything his father will tolerate. He calls Brian Dad with a 2-syllable stretch. Dad! That makes it sound like a small song. He has never been told he does not belong somewhere, until tonight. The wedding invitation arrives 3 weeks before the event. Cream-colored cardstock, gold wax seal. Derek Morrison, son of Gerald Morrison, whose firm, Morrison Capital, holds a logistics contract with Thornton Enterprises, is marrying Allison Caldwell. The reception will be held at Belmont Oaks Country Club. Brian RSV pees for 2. Belmont Oaks sits on a former plantation estate at the end of a long gravel drive. The tires crunch when you pull in, and the sound is slow and deliberate, like the club itself is deciding whether to let you pass. White columns line the entrance, thick as old oaks. A bronze plaque mounted beside the front door reads, "Established 1884, Preserving Tradition." Brian and Caleb arrive at 6:15. Caleb wears his navy blazer, a white shirt, and a clip-on tie that he keeps adjusting with one hand. They step onto the south terrace, and Caleb spots the chocolate fountain before Brian can finish his first sentence. He tugs Brian's sleeve and grins. Brian laughs, a real laugh, the kind that loosens his shoulders and makes his eyes close for half a second. For 2 minutes, This is just a father and his son at a party. The air smells like jasmine and grilled shrimp. Caleb asks if he can try the buffet. Brian says yes, tells him to put some green beans on his plate, and walks toward the garden bar to greet Gerald Morrison. Caleb, plate in hand, walks toward the buffet alone. Let us rewind 45 minutes. The buffet stretches along the south wall of the terrace. Lobster tails, carved ham with a honey glaze, a bread station with rosemary rolls and cornbread. Steam rises from the chafing dishes and curls in the evening air. 200 guests fill the south terrace. The reception is less than an hour old. Vivian Caldwell has been circling since the first toast. She is 61 years old, silver hair pulled tight. The bride's mother, chair of the Belmont Oaks Social Committee. She calls what she is doing keeping the room right. What it means is this: she is scanning, table by table, guest by guest, looking for anyone who doesn't look right. She does not define the phrase. She does not need to. She has been defining it for 8 years on the membership committee, and no one has ever asked her to explain. Her gaze stops on Caleb. He is standing at the bread station, plate in hand. He has placed 3 green beans beside a roll, carefully, the way a child does when following instructions. He is reaching for a second roll. Vivian does not ask his name. She does not check a seating chart. She does not look for a parent. She crosses 12 feet of flagstone, places her hand on his upper arm, and pulls. You already know the first words. Street kids don't eat here. But she does not stop there. As she pulls Caleb toward the service corridor, she adds, "Who let you in? Where are your people?" And then, quieter, to a waiter standing frozen by the carving station. "Get this handled. I shouldn't have to do this myself." The plate hits the flagstone, the crack carries, and then the silence. 23 guests witness the confrontation. 2 women at a nearby table press their napkins to their mouths, one in shock, one suppressing a laugh. A man in a seersucker jacket turns his chair. 3 guests will later give independent written statements, each consistent with the others. A retired schoolteacher named Dorothy Willis describes Vivian's grip on Caleb's arm and quotes the words exactly. One guest, a 28-year-old woman named Angela, is already recording on her phone. The clip runs 38 seconds. It captures Vivian's hand, Caleb's plate falling, and the moment that changes everything. The timestamp reads 7:14 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Derek Morrison is standing 10 yards away, holding a champagne flute when he sees it. The color drains from his face. Sweat beads on his forehead despite the air conditioning flowing from the open French doors. He sets down the glass. He crosses the terrace in 4 strides. "Vivian!" His voice is tight. "Stop!" She does not stop. "That's the CEO's son." Vivian's hand opens. She releases Caleb's arm. She does not apologize. She adjusts her pearls and says, "Well, someone should have introduced him properly." Derek stares at her. His jaw works, but nothing comes out. Then, almost under his breath, he says something only Vivian hears. "You don't understand what you just did." Brian Thornton walks from the garden bar. He rounds the corner of the terrace and sees his son standing alone. Caleb's tie is hanging loose. His plate is broken on the ground. Green beans are scattered across the stone. Brian does not raise his voice. He does not address Vivian. He kneels on the flagstone, picks up the clip-on tie, and reattaches it to Caleb's collar. He straightens the boy's blazer. Then he stands, takes Caleb's hand, and walks toward the exit. As he passes the nearest table, he speaks. Not to anyone in particular, quiet enough that only 4 people hear it. "My son's name is Caleb. He is 9 years old. He was hungry." They leave. The reception continues. But something on that terrace has shifted, and it cannot be put back. By morning, 500,000 people will hear those 3 sentences. By Tuesday, 2.3 million. And Vivian Caldwell will learn that the service corridor she tried to push a child through leads somewhere she never expected, straight into the public record. Sunday morning, 9 a.m. The guest who recorded the video, she does not give her full name publicly, only her first, Angela, uploads the 38-second clip to social media. Her caption is one sentence. "This just happened at a Savannah Country Club wedding." By noon, the video has 200,000 views. By 6 p.m., 500,000. Two Savannah television stations lead their evening broadcasts with the clip. A national outlet picks it up before midnight. The headline cycle begins. CEO's son dragged from wedding buffet at exclusive club. The video speaks for itself, but the narrator walks you through it anyway, frame by frame, because the details matter. Second 1 through 4. Caleb stands at the buffet, plate in hand. He is reaching for a roll. Second 5. Vivian's hand enters from the right side. Her fingers close on his upper arm. Second 8. The plate tilts. Second 9. It hits the flagstone. You can hear the crack even through the phone's microphone. Seconds 10 through 22. Vivian pulls Caleb toward the service corridor. His feet drag. His tie swings loose. Second 23. Derek Morrison appears. His mouth moves. The audio captures it cleanly. That's the CEO's son. Second 26. Vivian's hand opens. Seconds 27 through 38. Brian kneels, fixes the tie, takes Caleb's hand, and walks away. 38 seconds. That is all it takes. Monday, 3 p.m., Belmont Oaks Country Club releases a 90-word press statement. It reads in part, "We regret any misunderstanding that may have occurred during a private event. Belmont Oaks Country Club welcomes all guests of our members and is committed to reviewing our event protocols." 90 words. No name. No specific acknowledgement of what Vivian did. No apology to Caleb. The statement does not mention a 9-year-old boy. It does not mention a broken plate. It calls the incident a misunderstanding, as though a woman grabbing a child's arm is a matter of interpretation. That same afternoon, through a family spokesperson, Vivian Caldwell issues her own statement. Mrs. Caldwell did not realize the child was a guest of the event. She was concerned about event security. Any parent would understand. By Tuesday evening, the video has passed 2.3 million views. The hashtag #StreetKidsDon'tEatHere is trending in 14 U.S. cities. Comment sections fill not with rage, but with something quieter and harder to dismiss: recognition. One comment, liked 42,000 times, reads, "My daughter is 9. I can't stop thinking about this." Another, "I was that kid. Different buffet, same words." Brian Thornton releases a 200-word written statement through his company's communications office. He does not mention Vivian by name. He does not threaten litigation. He does not raise his voice, even on paper. The key line: "My son asked me why a stranger grabbed his arm. I am still looking for an answer that does not break something inside him." That sentence travels further than the video. It is shared independently of the clip. Just the text, no link, by people who have never heard of Belmont Oaks and never will again, but who recognize the weight of a father choosing his words like a man handling something breakable. Wednesday morning, a Savannah radio host reads Brian's statement on air, then sits in silence for 4 seconds before moving to the next segment. That silence says more than any commentary. The rally grows. A local interfaith coalition, 3 Baptist congregations, a Catholic parish, a synagogue, and a mosque, announces a peaceful gathering outside Belmont Oaks for the following Saturday. Expected attendance, 300. By Thursday, RSVPs exceed 500. Organizers print extra signs. The language is deliberate. No slurs, no insults, just a single question repeated on every poster. Who belongs here? Local businesses begin to weigh in. A restaurant 2 blocks from the club posts a handwritten sign in its window. "All children eat here, no exceptions." A barbershop on Abercorn Street tapes a printout of Brian's statement to its door. These are small gestures. But in Savannah, where politeness is currency and silence is a form of agreement, a handwritten sign in a restaurant window is an act of defiance. And in the background, a detail that no one is paying attention to yet. 3 years earlier, the Savannah City Council approved a property tax abatement for Belmont Oaks Country Club, $1.8 million in tax relief over 10 years, in exchange for what the application called community benefit programming. The vote passed with minimal public comment. At the time, no one asked what community benefit meant. They are about to. But first, the money moves, and it moves fast. Thursday, 72 hours after the video goes live, 3 corporate sponsors of Belmont Oaks' annual charity gala send formal letters of termination. First Harbor Savings, a regional bank. Coastal Grand Hotels, a hospitality group with 11 properties across the Lowcountry. Pembroke Beverages, a distributor that has supplied the club's bar program for 9 years. The letters arrive within hours of each other. Each one runs less than a page. Each one uses the same careful corporate phrasing. Reputational alignment, brand safety review, effective immediately. Combined annual sponsorship value, $340,000. 3 letters, $340,000. Gone before the weekend. The ripple effect extends beyond the gala. 2 local businesses that regularly rent Belmont Oaks banquet facilities for corporate events quietly rebook at alternative venues. A charity that held its annual auction at the club for 11 consecutive years announces it will explore other options. The club's events calendar, which was full through December, develops gaps. Each cancellation is polite. Each one stings. Friday. Randall Caldwell, Vivian's husband, 63, who manages the family's real estate development firm, Caldwell & Associates, receives a different kind of notice. His firm holds a subcontract on a municipal logistics project that routes through Thornton Enterprises. The contract has been under routine review for 2 months. The review concludes. The subcontract is not renewed. This is not retaliation. Brian Thornton does not call anyone. He does not send a memo. The contract review predates the wedding by 60 days. But timing has its own gravity. And in Savannah, people notice when a Caldwell loses a revenue stream the same week a Thornton son is dragged from a buffet. Now, step back and look at the board. 72 hours ago, Vivian Caldwell assumed she had the authority to decide who eats at her daughter's wedding and who does not. She looked at a 9-year-old black boy in a navy blazer and saw a trespasser. She grabbed his arm, spoke 4 words, and expected the world to agree with her. 72 hours later, her family's sponsors are running. Her husband's revenue is thinning. And the man whose child she grabbed employs more people in Savannah than her entire social circle combined. Brian Thornton's company handles freight logistics for 3 of the 5 largest employers in Chatham County. His annual tax contribution to the city exceeds what Belmont Oaks saves in its abatement. The status inversion is complete, but Brian says nothing about it. He makes no public comment about the sponsors. He does not mention Randall's subcontract. He does not gloat. He does not posture. Brian Thornton understands something Vivian Caldwell has never had to learn. Power that announces itself is power that has already peaked. But here is what matters. The sponsors are gone. The money is moving, and Vivian has been embarrassed. Yet the institution that produced her, that trained her eye to scan a terrace and sort guests by appearance, is still standing. Belmont Oaks Board has not spoken. Its membership rolls remain sealed. Its 140 years of tradition are a wall that 3 sponsor letters cannot breach. To crack that wall, someone will need to look at the foundation, and that someone is already looking. Her name is Denise Hartwell. She has been investigating Belmont Oaks for 5 months, and she just received the FOIA response she has been waiting for. Denise Hartwell is 38 years old. Before she became a reporter, she was a social worker in Chatham County. 3 years of home visits, intake forms, and courtrooms. She left social work for journalism because she wanted to change systems, not just survive them. She joined the Savannah Morning Chronicle in 2020 and built a reputation for long investigations that no one wanted to read until they couldn't stop reading them. Denise has been working a tip about Belmont Oaks membership practices since January, 5 months before the wedding. A source inside the club's administrative office told her, off the record, that applications from certain families were handled differently. Denise filed a Freedom of Information Act request in February, targeting membership application records. Her legal basis? Belmont Oaks receives a public tax abatement from the city of Savannah, which subjects certain administrative records to state open records law. The club fought the request for 4 months. Its attorneys argued that membership decisions were protected under private association rights. The state attorney general's office disagreed. The records arrived the Monday after the video went viral. Denise opens the file at her kitchen table at 7 a.m. She builds a spreadsheet. Column A, applicant name. Column B, year. Column C, race, as self-identified on the application form. Column D, outcome. 15 years of applications, 62 from non-white families, 58 rejected, 94%. For white applicants over the same period, the rejection rate is 11%. Denise reads the numbers 3 times. She runs them through 2 different methods. The gap does not close. 94% of non-white applicants rejected versus 11% of white applicants. Over 15 years. At an institution receiving $1.8 million in public tax relief. She digs deeper into the individual files. The rejection letters are identical, every single one. Same 4-word phrase, character and compatibility review. Same polite closing. We thank you for your interest in Belmont Oaks and wish you well. No explanation, no appeal process, no contact number for follow-up. The letters are form-generated, same font, same spacing, same signature block. Only the names change. Denise cross-references the rejected applicants' profiles. Among the 58 non-white families denied membership, a cardiac surgeon with privileges at 3 hospitals, a retired Army colonel with 2 Bronze Stars, a family that owns 14 commercial properties in downtown Savannah, a couple who both hold doctoral degrees from Emory University. Their combined credentials would fill a wall. The committee found every one of them lacking in character. And every rejected non-white application passed through one committee, the Social Committee, chaired for the last 8 years by Vivian Caldwell. Denise pulls the next thread, the city tax abatement filing, case number 2022-TAX-0384, signed by the city finance director. The application promises community benefit programming, including youth sports clinics, cultural events open to the public, and an annual scholarship fund for local students. The projected annual impact, $180,000 in foregone city tax revenue, compounding over a decade. Denise checks. No youth sports clinic has been held. No public cultural event has been documented in the club's event calendar or in any city filing. The scholarship fund was listed as pending establishment in 2022 and has not been referenced since. Denise calls the city clerk's office and asks for any compliance reports filed by Belmont Oaks under the abatement's community benefit clause. The clerk checks. There are none. Not one filing in 3 years. The community benefit is a phantom. The $1.8 million in tax relief is flowing to an institution that promised public service and delivered none. The board meeting minutes come next. Denise obtains records from 4 quarterly meetings between 2022 and 2024. The phrase, character and compatibility review, appears in every set of minutes, attached to the membership approval section. In the Q1 2023 minutes, the committee reports reviewing 11 applications and approving 9, all white. 2 non-white applicants are deferred pending additional review. They never reappear in subsequent minutes. In the Q3 2023 minutes, a board member identified by initials, LC, is recorded making a statement during open discussion. We must preserve the membership profile that our founders intended. L.C. Leland Caldwell, Vivian's brother-in-law, chairman of the Belmont Oaks Board of Directors. Denise reads the sentence once, then again, slower. The membership profile that our founders intended. Founded in 1884, in Savannah, Georgia. the membership profile that the founders of a Reconstruction-era private club intended. The sentence does not need commentary. It explains itself. Then the phone rings. Warren Reeves is 33 years old. He worked the front desk at Belmont Oaks from 2019 to 2024. He quit 4 months ago. He has been watching the news. He contacts Denise after reading her first article draft, which she posted in excerpt form on the Chronicle's website. Warren provides a sworn affidavit, notarized and reviewed by his personal attorney. In it, he states that he was instructed by the Social Committee's staff liaison to flag applications from non-legacy families and route them to the committee for additional review. He understood non-legacy to mean non-white. The flagging system was not digital. It was not logged in any database. It was a yellow sticky note on the outside of the application folder. A yellow sticky note. That is how a 140-year-old institution sorted its applicants. No algorithm, no code. Just a small square of adhesive paper that said, without saying, "This one is different." Denise publishes her findings in a 3-part investigative series in the Savannah Morning Chronicle. Part 1, the membership data. Part 2, the tax abatement. Part 3, Warren Reeves' affidavit. Each article includes the club's response, a 2-sentence statement from a retained public relations firm. Belmont Oaks has always followed applicable law. We reject any characterization of discriminatory practices. 2 sentences. No specifics. No acknowledgement of the numbers. 58 rejections. A yellow sticky note. A bronze plaque that says, "Preserving Tradition." And a 9-year-old boy whose green beans are still scattered across the flagstone. If you have ever kept receipts when no one believed you, drop a word in the comments. 1 word. We'll know what it means. But the Caldwell family is not the kind that crumbles quietly. And the next envelope Brian Thornton opens will not contain an invitation. 4 days after Denise's series publishes, a letter arrives at Brian Thornton's office. A second copy arrives at the Savannah Morning Chronicle's newsroom. Both are sent by certified mail from Whitfield, Beaumont, and Crane, a firm whose Savannah office occupies an entire floor of a building on Bull Street. The letter is 3 pages. It threatens defamation action against Brian Thornton, the Chronicle, and Denise Hartwell personally. The claim damages $2.5 million. The central argument? The incident at the Morrison Caldwell reception was a private misunderstanding, subsequently weaponized by media coverage for commercial gain and personal publicity. The letter demands a public retraction of all 3 Chronicle articles within 14 days. It demands that Brian cease all public commentary regarding the Caldwell family. It demands the removal of the video from all platforms where it has been shared, a demand that, practically speaking, is impossible. Brian reads the letter at his desk. He folds it. He puts it in the inside pocket of his jacket. The Caldwell family maintains, through their attorney, that Vivian's actions were a reasonable response to an unidentified minor at a private event, and that subsequent media coverage has been reckless and defamatory. Their attorney states that the family intends to pursue all available legal remedies. But the letter is only the first move. Within 48 hours, a cluster of anonymous social media accounts begins posting about Brian. The accounts are new, created within days of each other, with stock photo profile images and no post history before this week. The theme is consistent. Brian Thornton is a publicity-seeking grifter who staged the incident for media attention. One account posts a doctored screenshot suggesting Brian contacted a reporter before the wedding. Another claims he coached his son to approach the buffet alone. The posts gain traction in certain corners of the internet. They are shared by accounts with large followings that specialize in contrarian narratives. Brian's communications team flags the activity, notes the coordinated timing, and documents the account creation dates. Brian does not respond publicly. But the campaign reaches Caleb's school. On Thursday, 3 of Caleb's classmates repeat something they heard at home. Your dad is just trying to get attention. One of them says it at lunch. Another says it during recess. A third writes it on a note and leaves it on Caleb's desk. Caleb comes home that afternoon and does not talk during dinner. He sits at the kitchen table and pushes his food in circles across the plate. Brian asks him about school. Caleb shrugs. Brian asks if something happened. Caleb shrugs again. Then, without looking up, he asks a question that cuts through the kitchen like glass. Are we on the news because of me? Brian sets down his fork. He breathes once. No, Caleb. We are on the news because of someone else's choices. Caleb nods. He does not eat. A child who was grabbed for reaching for food now will not reach for food. Denise faces pressure of her own. The Chronicle's advertising department receives calls from 3 businesses with ties to Belmont Oaks, each threatening to pull its ad buys. The total at risk? $85,000 in annual revenue. Denise's editor, a man named Hank Garrison, who has run the newsroom for 16 years, tells her to keep reporting. But Denise notices a chill. Colleagues who congratulated her last week now avoid her in the break room. 2 reporters asked to have their names removed from a shared byline. Brian's professional exposure deepens. A client in his defense logistics division, a federal contractor, quietly delays a contract renewal, citing reputational considerations. Brian's CFO sends a memo noting that prolonged public controversy could affect the company's Q3 earnings call. The cease and desist sits on Brian's desk. The anonymous accounts multiply. His son pushes green beans across a plate. His CFO sends another email. Denise's colleagues look the other way. That night, Brian sits in Caleb's room after the boy falls asleep, and in the silence, he hears a question he cannot answer. The house is quiet. It is 11 p.m. Caleb fell asleep 20 minutes ago, curled on his side with one arm draped over a stuffed bear he has had since he was 3. The bear's name is Commander, because Caleb named it during his astronaut phase, and the name stuck. Brian sits in the hallway outside Caleb's room. His back is against the wall. His legs are stretched across the hardwood floor. The air conditioning hums low, and the hallway light is the only one still on in the house. The laundry detergent on Caleb's pajamas, the lavender one Brian's mother used to buy in bulk, drifts through the cracked door. Brian closes his eyes, and he is 9 years old again. Macon County, the school cafeteria, a Tuesday. The room smells like canned corn and floor wax. Brian has his tray, a rectangular beige tray with compartments, and his free lunch card is already in the cashier's hand. He walks toward the tables, but every seat near the window is taken, and the boys at the center table look up when he approaches. One of them glances at the cashier's station. Brian knows that glance. It means they saw the card. He turns. He walks to the hallway. He sits on the floor with his tray on his knees and eats alone. A teacher walks past. Her heels click on the linoleum. She does not slow down. She does not ask why a 4th grader is eating lunch on the floor of an empty hallway. Brian finishes his food. He carries the tray back. He does not tell his mother. 35 years later, his son's green beans are on a flagstone terrace, and a woman's hand is on his son's arm, and the words are different. Street kids don't eat here, instead of a sideways glance at a lunch card. But the architecture is the same. Someone decided a child did not belong at the table, and no one in the room stopped it until it was too late. Earlier tonight, before Caleb fell asleep, he looked at Brian from his pillow and asked a question. "Dad, did I do something wrong at the party?" Brian opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The silence sat between them like a living thing. He pulled Caleb into a hug and held him until the boy's breathing slowed and his body went heavy with sleep. Now Brian sits in the hallway and replays the question. Did I do something wrong? He pulls out his phone, scrolls through the anonymous accounts, the stock photo faces, the accusations, the word grifter repeated like a chant, and then sets the phone face down on the floor. He opens the cease and desist letter from his jacket pocket. He reads it again. The word damages appears 4 times. He folds the letter and puts it back. Brian built a company on calculated risk. He knows the math of litigation. He knows the cost of sustained public controversy. He also knows what it costs to teach a 9-year-old that some buffet lines are not worth standing in, that some rooms are not worth entering, that some traditions are more powerful than his blazer and his clip-on tie. He stands. He walks to the kitchen. He pours a glass of water. He stands at the window. The streetlight outside casts a line of light across the counter. He drinks the water. He sets the glass down. He picks up the phone. He calls Gloria Freeman. It is 11:42 p.m. She answers on the second ring. She has been waiting for this call.
Did I do something wrong? Bro, he's 9. He grabbed a bread roll. That's literally it. I can't with this one.
Stay with this.
The evidence that changes everything is 60 seconds away. Gloria Freeman is 52 years old. She operates a civil rights litigation practice out of a converted row house in Atlanta's Old Fourth Ward. She has argued 3 discrimination cases before federal appeals courts and won 2. She does not take cases for publicity. She takes them because the math of injustice offends her, and she is very good at math. Gloria listens to Brian for 40 minutes. She asks 11 questions. Then she gives him her assessment in one sentence. We don't sue the woman, we sue the structure. Her strategy is precise. The individual act, Vivian grabbing Caleb, is ugly, but it is a civil tort with limited reach. The systemic evidence, the membership data, the tax abatement, the board minutes, the whistleblower's affidavit, points to something larger. A private institution receiving $1.8 million in public tax relief while operating an exclusionary membership system. The legal target is not Vivian Caldwell. The legal target is the abatement itself. Gloria takes the case pro bono. That same week, a document begins circulating in Savannah. An open letter addressed to the city council demanding a formal review of the Belmont Oaks tax abatement. The letter's closing line: public money should not subsidize private exclusion. 214 residents sign it. 12 clergy members from 6 congregations, 40 small business owners, 2 school board members, a retired state judge, and the names that land hardest: the parents of 3 children who attend Caleb's elementary school. 5 long-standing Belmont Oaks members resign. Their letters are brief and direct. One comes from Dr. Harold Bennett, 74, a retired pediatrician who joined the club in 1989. His resignation reads, in part, I believed in this institution's stated values. I was wrong about what those values were. The letter is published in the Savannah Morning Chronicle. Then comes the moment no one expected. Tuesday, City Council Chambers, a regular session. Councilwoman Patricia Graves, 56, the only black woman on the 7-member council, a 14-year veteran of city government, takes the floor during open comments. She announces a formal review of the Belmont Oaks tax abatement, citing public interest and new evidence from the Chronicle's reporting. Then she pauses, and she says something that changes the shape of the conversation. I applied to Belmont Oaks Country Club in 2019. My application was rejected under the Character and Compatibility Review. I have served this city for 14 years. I hold a law degree. I sit on this council, and they found my character lacking. The council chamber goes silent. For 3 full seconds, the only sound is the low hum of the air conditioning unit above the gallery. Then a murmur rises from the public seats, and Patricia Graves continues speaking, steady and unhurried, as though she has been rehearsing this sentence for 5 years and is finally saying it aloud. Denise Hartwell, sitting in the press gallery with her notebook open, cross-references the councilwoman's disclosure with the FOIA data. Patricia Graves' application is there. File number 2019-0041. Rejected. Reason: Character and Compatibility Review. A city councilwoman, 14 years of public service, rejected by a club receiving public money. The community is in.
The council is in, but the wall has not fallen. To bring it down, someone inside the wall will have to open a door. And that person, the one with the key, is the last person anyone expected. Derek Morrison has not slept well in 5 weeks. He married Alison Caldwell on a June evening that was supposed to be the beginning of their life together. Instead, it became the most watched 38 seconds in Savannah's recent memory. His mother-in-law grabbed a child at his wedding. His new family's name is in every headline. His wife cries at night and will not explain why. Derek has spent these weeks in silence, caught between loyalty to the family he married into and revulsion at what he witnessed. He keeps replaying his own words. "You don't understand what you just did," and wondering if he meant them as a warning to Vivian or a verdict on himself. He saw it happen. He stopped it too late. He said 5 words and then stood there while a 9-year-old boy walked out of his reception with a broken plate and a loose tie. But Derek Morrison knows something no one else outside the Belmont Oaks boardroom knows. 3 days after the wedding, he overheard Leland Caldwell, Vivian's brother-in-law, chairman of the club's board, on a phone call in the Caldwell family study. Leland was speaking to the club's membership coordinator. Derek heard only fragments, but one phrase lodged in his memory. "We talked about this before the wedding. I sent you the email." Derek said nothing at the time. He filed the phrase away, the way you file a sharp object, carefully, because you know it will cut. 5 weeks later, on a Thursday afternoon, Derek contacts Denise Hartwell through an encrypted messaging application. He sends one attachment. The attachment is an email. From Leland Caldwell, Board Chairman, Belmont Oaks Country Club, to the Membership Coordinator. Sent 11 days before the wedding. Subject line, Event Protocol, Confidential. The body reads, "Screen out non-legacy applicants. Use discretion at club events. We cannot afford another scene at the 4th of July gala. This stays between us." 4 sentences, 29 words. Written 11 days before Vivian Caldwell grabbed a 9-year-old boy at a buffet and told him he did not belong. Screen out non-legacy applicants. That is not ambiguous. That is not a misunderstanding. That is not a matter of interpretation. Use discretion at club events. Discretion. The word Vivian used when she scanned the terrace and found the one child who did not look like the others. This stays between us. It did not. Denise verifies the email. She confirms the sender's address against Leland Caldwell's official club email listed in board correspondence. The email header matches. The timestamp is authentic. The Chronicle's legal team reviews the document and clears it for publication. The article runs the next morning. The headline, Belmont Oaks Board Chairman ordered staff to screen out applicants. Within 6 hours, every major outlet in Georgia has picked it up. By evening, the story is national. Leland Caldwell responds through his attorney. He calls the email taken out of context and states that non-legacy refers to applicants without an existing member sponsor, not to race. His attorney emphasizes that the club's membership criteria are lawful under private association rights. The claim is technically possible, but in the FOIA records that Denise has already published, 91% of non-legacy applicants who were white were approved. The approval rate for non-legacy applicants who were not white is 6%. The context is already on the record. The email fills in the last blank space. Gloria Freeman prints the email. She adds it to a folder that already contains 58 rejection letters, a phantom community benefit program, a whistleblower's affidavit about yellow sticky notes, and 15 years of data that draw a single, unbroken line. She drives to the Chatham County Courthouse and files a motion. He wrote, "Screen out non-legacy applicants," hit send, and went about his day. 11 days later, they dragged a kid from a buffet. Like, you can't make this up. Tell me you haven't been there. Comment section. Go. Chatham County Superior Court. A Wednesday morning, 6 weeks after a 9-year-old boy reached for a bread roll at a country club wedding. The courtroom smells like old wood and floor polish. The gallery is full. Residents who signed the open letter, reporters from 4 outlets, 2 sketch artists, and a row of Belmont Oaks board members in dark suits who stare straight ahead and speak to no one. Outside the courtroom doors, 3 television cameras and a crowd that spills down the corridor. Inside, the Honorable Catherine Moore presides from a bench that sits 2 feet above the floor of the well. She is 61 years old, appointed 12 years ago, known for reading every exhibit and asking questions that cut through rhetoric like a blade through paper. Gloria Freeman rises. Her argument takes 14 minutes. She presents the case in 4 clean strokes. The $1.8 million in public tax relief granted for community programming that was never delivered. 15 years of membership data showing a 94% rejection rate for non-white applicants. A former employee's sworn account of a flagging system built on yellow sticky notes, and an internal email from the board chairman ordering staff to screen out non-legacy applicants 11 days before the wedding. She places each document on the clerk's desk. The stack is not tall, but it is heavy. She asks the court for a temporary injunction freezing the tax abatement pending a formal review. The club's attorney rises. His argument: Belmont Oaks is a private association with protected membership rights, and the tax abatement does not convert it into a public entity. Judge Moore listens. She writes 3 notes. She does not interrupt. Then she calls Vivian Caldwell to the witness stand. Vivian has been subpoenaed. She sits in the gallery in a cream-colored suit, her pearls in place, her posture rigid. She walks to the stand and takes the oath. Gloria's questioning is brief. She asks Vivian to describe her role on the social committee. Vivian describes it in measured terms: reviewing applications, organizing events, maintaining the standards of the club. Gloria asks Vivian to describe what happened on the evening of June 14th. Vivian repeats the language from her public statement. She did not realize the child was a guest. She was concerned about security. It was a misunderstanding. Then Gloria places the email on the stand. Mrs. Caldwell, please read this email aloud for the court. Vivian looks at the email. Her hands rest on the edges of the document. For a moment, nothing moves. Then her hands begin to shake. Not dramatically, not performatively. A small, steady tremor that travels from her fingers to the paper, making it quiver against the wood of the stand. She reads, "Screen out non-legacy applicants." Her voice drops. "Use discretion at club events." She pauses. "We cannot afford another scene at the 4th of July gala." Gloria, please read the final sentence. Vivian looks at the paper. The tremor deepens. "This stays between us." The courtroom is still. Judge Catherine Moore reviews the evidence for 22 minutes. She reviews the FOIA data, the tax abatement filing, the affidavit, and the email. She asks the club's attorney one question. Can you identify any community benefit programming delivered by Belmont Oaks since the abatement was granted in 2022? The attorney pauses. We are in the process of developing those programs, Your Honor. Judge Moore writes her ruling. The temporary injunction is granted. The $1.8 million tax abatement is frozen, pending a formal review by the City of Savannah. The court's reasoning, read aloud. When public money enters a private institution, the public acquires standing to ask how that money is spent and whom it serves. The evidence before this court raises substantial questions about whether public funds have been used to subsidize exclusionary practices inconsistent with the stated purpose of the abatement. The injunction is granted. The abatement is frozen. Brian Thornton sits in the gallery. He does not speak. He does not smile. When the ruling is announced, he nods once, a small, controlled movement that carries more weight than any statement he could make. This is not a celebration. It is a correction. But the story does not end in a courtroom. It ends where it began, at a table, with a child and a plate of food. 2 weeks after the ruling, the Belmont Oaks Board votes 5-2 to suspend the legacy member veto policy. Vivian Caldwell resigns from the social committee. Leland Caldwell steps down as board chairman. The city council opens a formal review of the tax abatement, with public hearings scheduled. Brian Thornton does not sue Vivian individually. His statement is one paragraph. This was never about one woman at one buffet. It was about the system that put her hand on my son's arm and told her it was appropriate. On a Sunday afternoon, the Interfaith Coalition hosts a community cookout in Forsyth Park. Long tables, paper plates, charcoal smoke drifting across the grass. Caleb Thornton stands at the food table. He is wearing a t-shirt and sneakers. No blazer, no clip-on tie. He reaches for a bread roll. No one stops him. Someone passes him the barbecue sauce. He puts it on everything. Brian watches from 10 feet away, a paper plate in his own hand, and for the first time in 6 weeks, his shoulders loosen. A child reaches for food, and this time, every hand at the table opens. Tradition is not a license. Decorum is not a weapon. And no child, not one, should be taught that a buffet line is the measure of their belonging. Belmont Oaks is not the only club in Savannah. It is not the only club in Georgia. And the question a 9-year-old boy asked his father, "Did I do something wrong?" is being asked tonight, in other hallways, by other children. We will be listening. If this story stayed with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and if you have a moment, leave a comment. Tell us about the time someone told you that you did not belong. We read every one.